includes the raising of the level of shares blacks should own in mining firms, pending a court ruling that the Chamber of Mines industry body. Mining shares fell to more than 1 year lows when Mines Minister Mosebenzi Zwane released the revised mining charter last month, for giving resource firms 12 months to meet a new 30% minimum for black ownership, and that's up from 26%. The Chamber of Mines said that the minister had given a written undertaking that this new code would not be implemented until a court ruled on the case against the move brought by the Chamber. It said that the court would likely hear the so-called interdict application in September. Joining me now in studio to talk a little bit about this suspension and what it means is the Economist Lumkile Mondi. Thank you very much for joining us and welcome to the program.
Thanks for having me. Good evening.
All right, let's take a step back. Yesterday, Finance Minister Mosebenzi Zwane spoke about this mining charter actually and laid out a 14-point plan about the way forward. Bearing in mind what we've just heard today and what we heard yesterday, what's your take on the Finance Minister's plan and hopes?
We think that, in the past 9 years under President Zuma's presidency, South Africa has really slipped. We have unemployment around 28%. We've got an economic recession. We have widening inequality and poverty. This is really dismal. So we worked from a new growth path. We went then to a national development plan. And then after the renegade, we went into a 9-point plan. Now we've got a 14-point plan. So really, it shows us that there is no commitment of long-termism. We believe that with the report done by Maxwell, Ivo Chipkin, Mzugisi and others, that there is a shadow state that is disturbing our progress in the implementation of our plan, the National Development Plan, which sends a signal to business community at large that we've got a plan that by 2030 will have resolved our poverty, inequality, and economic growth of about 6%. And that's been derailed by action of a shadow state, which the Minister of Minerals has been part of, given the fact that we know through the Gupta leaks that he got the position through the Guptas. Not only that, that's part of the money from the Free State government went to support the wedding, which was a state money. But more importantly also, his involvement with Tegeta in terms of really eventually coming with this mining charter, which seemed to favor the very same family as well, in addition, of course, to many South Africans that are marginalized, because there's been no real transformation in the economy, into the mining sector.
All right. Do you think that, because you've mentioned the Mines Minister, do you think that him trying to push through this 30% was more about trying to get some good press and be seen as a champion for the people, to deflect from some of these issues that he's found himself embroiled in?
No, I don't think many of us have got confidence in the minister's capability and the competences. Based on one fact, on the fact that being a minister, I don't represent a particular interest group, I represent all South Africans. So by him getting on a plane to Switzerland, in a Tegeta plane, getting medical treatment in India, and being funded by the Gupta family, all these actions indicate to us there is a shadow state that is in operation. So the mining charter had a lot of that influence. And the reality is that the mining sector is critical for us. We're well endowed with the biggest reserves of manganese, platinum, chrome, and yet we are not investing. We're not investing because there's policy uncertainty. So let's go back to National Development Plan. Let's get competency within government. Let's push development, because our people are looking up at us that, 23 years after liberation, we remain trapped. A majority of people are trapped. Only a few of us are an elite, and when an elite, that doesn't care at all for the majority of our people.
Are you suggesting that maybe we should put a pause button on the mining charter revision? How do we then balance the need to grow the economy, where the mining industry is a major contributor, and then on the other side we also have these pressures to transform? How do we do both? Isn't a charter one of the vehicles to try and manage both?
Very much. There's work that's been done by Duma Kubule around the injustices that, the mining sector, the bosses themselves, unclean in the process. but also us in the new regime haven't been clean. That seem to favor a new black elite which serves its own interest at the expense of the community, which is endowed with resources, where there's been very little trickle down, no development. You look at the Bapo community at Marikana, you look at many communities in the Mpumalanga, who have got so many resources and yet are so underdeveloped. So all of us are guilty. Therefore, we require a negotiated mining charter. So I'm hoping that the court will throw it out when it resumes after this postponement. But more importantly, it forces all the parties to the table. However, we remain concerned by the role of the current minister, who we know very well that is working not for us as South African people, but is being captured by a few groupings, and yet he lied in Parliament around the financial, around the new financial investigation, which he said cabinet approved. So this is a minister that can't be trusted by South Africans. That is reliable, and we know very well, based on the Gupta leaks, that he's working for a particular family, not for us as South African Incorporated.
So you're suggesting that a negotiated mining charter can't be a good one for as long as Minister Zwane is still in his portfolio?
He is tainted. We require somebody who's bold, who understands that transformation about communities. We need to uplift those that own the wealth. Of course, we need royalties that will be redistributed to these communities. We also need these communities seeing the benefit of their resources being mined. This plan goes some way, but doesn't go enough. I think for us to continue pushing the black elite at the expense of the community that has got the resources, where we can tax more and be able for us who live outside these communities to use the tax system for redistribution. That's such a bold statement will go a long way than targeting the Lumkile Mondis and many others who can do well through their innovative and entrepreneurial skills, rather than a government that passes patronage in an attempt of ensuring that there's a black bourgeoisie.
If this shadow state, as you've described it, is removed somehow, let's say it starts with this vote of no confidence and then the House of Cards collapses, do you think that investors will start to say, okay, we have hope, and start coming back? Do you think that that is one of the key steps that we need to do to kickstart the economy, is that maybe a 15th point on this plan is to get rid of the shadow state?
It's critical. The shadow state has to go. And the shadow state has to go democratically. So there are processes, we know politically that the shadow state is part of the broader ANC government. So we're hoping that maybe come December, there could be shift. And that will mark the beginning, very similar to 1994, where we go back to the promise of a new ANC, of an ANC that will commit itself to the promise of 1994, constitutionalism, ensuring that the equality clause does deliver, that we target communities for redistribution, and we enable those of us like me opportunities through our own endeavors, because we are highly mobile, and therefore we need to be entrepreneurial and develop new businesses rather than state patronage. But more importantly, a state that is committed to rule of law, that when you break the law, when you are engaged in activities that you've seen the Gupta leaks, you get charged and you serve many, many, many years. So until that process goes ahead, we are likely to have, even if we succeed in December and thereafter in 2019, it's going to take us between 7 and 10 years for us to get this economy going, because it's a long-term haul. As we saw, our crisis in 1985 after the Rubicon speech only came through in 2002, when the economy started picking up, growing at about 6% by 2006, delivering quite a lot of the dividends of our freedom.
All right, so you're happy with the courts and with the minister's decision to put a halt on this charter, and you're hoping the courts will throw it out and that we start again negotiating a new settlement, but without the shadow state in place?
Well, the minister, in fact, also moving on, because we need somebody who's credible, who's competent, to understand the sector. Because remember, South Africa is a mineral energy complex, and that requires a change in that. Particularly, bring communities. Let's bring our people back who own the resources, and the state uses taxes and royalties to redistribute to the broader public.
Mr. Lumkile Mondi, always a pleasure to talk to you. Thank you very much indeed for joining us and sharing your insights with us this evening.
Thank you so much.
All right.